Realty and Realty.
And I'm Jamesha.
And I'm Johanna. We are your hosts, bringing you all the juicy tea about the real estate world. Each episode will spill the real tea on what it's like to be a realtor, share our experiences, and give you some insights into the industry. But first things first, let's sip some tea.
Yes, we've got our cups ready, and today I am drinking cranberry ginger ale.
And today I am drinking, what was it? Cherry lemonade.
And I'm sipping on some hibiscus tea. All right, let's dive into today's episode, Surviving the Storm, Life in Florida, and Hurricane Preparedness.
Now, as Florida residents, hurricanes are just a part of our reality, and we've all been through some intense storms. And today we're going to share some personal hurricane stories, and I'll go first. So I remember as a little girl, one of the hurricanes was coming. I was in probably elementary, grade school, and we packed our bags and we went to one of the local schools into the gymnasium. And it was so dark in there. I remember people had to leave their pets at home. Everybody was scared. We could hear the wind outside. It was just a really scary experience. But since then, we'll either go to my auntie's house. She has a brick home. We'll either stay home. We have a generator. We know to go into the hallway where you can close all of the bedroom doors, or we know to go into the bathroom and put a mattress on top of us to shade us in case the window in the bathroom breaks and glass gets to flying everywhere. We've already cut down a couple of trees in the backyard, so we're pretty safe there. And we do have a generator. So here in Jacksonville, we've been pretty lucky and pretty blessed that hurricanes do come, but people joke around and say, "Oh, we're gonna have a hurricane party," because nothing really ever happens. But we still go to the store, we still get our water, we still get our food, we still prepare. It's better to be prepared, than to not be prepared. But we've just been so blessed to not have to worry about, it actually making impact. But that first time, as a little girl, it was just so, so, so scary. So here's my advice. Always pack your to-go bag ahead of time with the essentials like your medications, important documents, water, non-perishable foods, because you don't want to be scrambling around at the last minute. And if you try to go to the grocery stores at the last minute, they're going to be out of everything. So prepare, prepare, prepare.
That's definitely understandable. My experience with the storms haven't been all bad. I'm not from Jacksonville, so hurricane seasons were new to me. Didn't know when you should and should not ride them out. So the first couple, I left town because I didn't know what to expect. When in actuality, I could have just stayed my behind at home because nothing happened. But I will say the worst storm that I've seen that has impacted my family, I experienced secondhand, was Helene. The storm we had about two storms ago. Um, Normally it never hits Valdosta, which is where I'm from, Valdosta, Georgia, but it tore them up this time. They've never been hit like this before in a storm. There was flooding, there were trees down, there were broken street poles, like the poles that hold the power lines. Traffic lights were down, like they had curfews. They couldn't leave their house. They had to start getting people to take stuff around to people. I rode through there right after the storm, and there were tarps on top of almost every house you seen or every other house. There were trees through the ceiling. There were, it was weird to see power lines broken in half on the ground. There were still cables that were across, like crossing the street. They had to rig this stuff to get people power. A lot of those people were out of power for 15, 16 days. Like they were out of power for
Mm-mm.
weeks. So thank God my parents had a generator. It didn't affect them as much. A lot of people lost food because they had just purchased food for the storm. Um, Thank God we had a community that is a believer because they pulled together. A lot of restaurants gave away free dinners, free meals. A lot of areas were blocked off because trees were blocking the streets. It was like you couldn't go but so far in town if you can even leave your street or your house because it was so many down trees. It was bad, and now they're having a lot of flooding with the rain that's coming in. So a lot of people are living like they're living pretty bad at this point.
Mm. Mm.
It's just a lot. So what I've learned is to make sure you have backup power. That's the biggest thing. A generator can make a big difference when you have no electricity. Make sure you stock up on batteries, candles, for essentials like that. It helps because you can plug your refrigerator and stuff into your generator, and not only does it keep you cool where you can have air if it's during the hot time of the year, but it also helps keep your food so you can eat. You have stuff to eat and stuff like that. So that was my story.
Wow, those are some intense stories. Well, I've had my fair share of hurricanes too. So let me tell you about mine. 7 years ago, when I moved down to Jacksonville, Florida, I had heard about it. Living up north, we always hear about hurricanes, and it was a little bit scary, so a little bit intimidating. But what I did was, I remember I was at church, and they all were saying there was a big hurricane coming. And the pastor joked around, and when I asked him, I said, "Hey, what's the most important essential items that I should have, for the hurricane?" He laughed and he said, "Well, make sure you have plenty of hurricane snacks and drinks." And I looked at him weird. I said, I thought he was joking. I said, but like, Pastor, like, are you sure that's all I should have? Like, I'm talking about like flashlights. Like, I thought about generators. I didn't have one, but I said I can go out and buy one. Like, I was thinking. He said no. He goes, we'll be fine. He said, trust me, we'll be okay because we're up north. Thank God. So the people a little bit further down, they get, they're the ones that get the brunt of it. But thank God, we don't have issues. It doesn't really get hyped up. And he said, don't worry about all that new stuff that you've seen, when you used to live up north. So I was still scared. I was really like, I was like, this is my first hurricane. I don't know. And I really wanted to move back up north because I said, I can't deal with this. Just the hype, all the hype about. And then I go to the store and everybody had sold out of water. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to die and we know we're going to have water. And okay, so I took his advice. I got the snacks. Thank God, like the lights flickered for like a couple of seconds. And this is when I was living close to the south side. This is probably 10 minutes from the beaches. And I was like, we're gonna get flooded. Like, my imagination just went crazy, but it was nothing. And I said, thank God. I was praying. I said, thank you, God. I said, I survived my first hurricane. And my neighbor even evacuated. They were new to Jacksonville also. And another person told me, they're like, oh yeah, you guys are newbies to Jacksonville. Don't worry, you get used to it. So that was 7 years ago. And we always have to be safe, rather be safe than sorry. But
Mm.
I've learned to be more relaxed about all that hurricane hype. Because yes, we do need to be prepared and everything, but sometimes it gets up, a little bit too hyped up and scares us more than it needs to be. But that was my first hurricane experience. And my advice to everyone is to make sure you have proper insurance coverage. It's not just about protecting your home, but also your peace of mind. Make sure you take photos of everything in your home for documentation purposes right before a storm hits, just in case, because you never know. Better to be safe than sorry.
Right. So those are some really amazing stories. And for anyone living in hurricane prone areas, remember preparation is key. So now that we've talked about our stories, we're going to run through some helpful tips for anyone who may need assistance after the hurricane.
Yeah, so if you are displaced by the storm and you need a temporary place to stay, all you have to do is check out hurricanehomes.org or floridahousingsearch.org. They offer great options for finding short-term housing.
And for those dealing with roof damage, Operation Blue Roof is a fantastic resource. The U.S. Army Corps of General Engineers helps with temporary roof coverings to keep your home safe from further damage.
And if your business was affected, you can visit floridadisaster.biz and you can get support to help you recover. And don't forget about FEMA. You can always apply for assistance at disasterassistance.gov.
And if you're a realtor like us, don't forget that Florida Realtors has the Disaster Relief Fund that can assist those of us in the industry who have been affected by hurricanes. You can apply at floridarealtors.org/DRF.
Yes, and don't forget about mortgage relief. You can get help through FEMA I'm sorry, at disasterassistance.gov or the Florida Realtors Mortgage Relief Program.
And another thing to remember after a storm is to stay safe. Don't rush outside to check on your property. If there's still flooding or down power lines, you want to wait until the authorities give the all clear.
And if you do have damage, document everything. Take photos, keep receipts, and make sure to file insurance claims as soon as you can. It'll save you a lot of headaches later on.
Yes, and don't forget our mental health. Hurricanes are stressful, and it's okay to be overwhelmed. Reach out to support groups, to your friends. Um, Reach out to someone if you need someone. Well, guys, that's all for today's episode. We hope you found our hurricane stories and tips helpful. Preparation is key, and having these resources can really make a difference.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more insights, tips, and of course, more realty and realty. Catch us next time where we'll be diving to another juicy topic. We'll draw it from the bucket and we'll see what's next.
Ooh, I can't wait. See you next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.